Okay, good news. I've established how to operate my video camera. Happy to have this new video camera. It certainly took a big chunk out of my wallet, so I ought to be happy with it. So tonight I bought, a lot of anime today. It's a lot of anime I've been meaning to buy for a long time now, and have just been putting it off. And, I mean, some of it I could have just watched on Hulu, and some of it I couldn't have. So, but I just decided, if I'm gonna buy Cowboy Bebop, I better fucking buy, just go all out. Buy every other anime that is really, has really defined my experience with anime that I didn't already own. Like, I already owned Gundam Wing and such. To balance out the sheer unclean feeling that I get from having purchased Bebop. I mean, I'm sorry. I only spent $30 buying Bebop. That's an incredibly low price. I spent the same amount of money buying Fooly Cooly, a 6-episode series, and it costs the same. And yet, I get far more out of having bought Fooly Cooly, personally, than having bought Bebop. And the only reason I bought Bebop at all was because if I'm going to rail on it and sort of become a figurehead for hatred to be brought down on Bebop for its various flaws that nobody else wants to talk about, then I at least need to do it the honor of owning it, so that at least I can give it a fair shot to prove me wrong. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing tonight, is I'm going to be popping Cowboy Bebop into my TV over there, and we're going to take a look at it, and I'm going to be recording my reactions to it because I'm too lazy to type. And the first impressions I get from watching Cowboy Bebop. Now, in the meantime, while I'm yammering on like this to keep myself from being bored, I'm going to continuously talk in front of this camera while I open the various animes that I spent a ridiculous amount of money on today. The first, of course, being one of my favorites, Fooly Cooly. Also bought Gurren Lagann, which I've already opened. Next up is Trigun. Another anime that defined my being an anime fan. There's a fair number of anime that really, really speak to me, and a lot of them are kind of what you would expect. There's that certain generation of American anime fans who were introduced to anime a certain way. And that way was through Toonami and early Adult Swim. And really, Adult Swim is actually is sort of a descendant of Toonami. So a great deal of Western anime fans owe what they were shaped into as fans, as a collective fan base, by the first things that they were introduced to by Toonami. Trigun is one of those things. And, it was introduced by Adult Swim, but it was introduced in that era where Adult Swim was sort of in its neophyte phase, and sort of blends in its themes and in its motifs with what Toonami had become at that point in time. So I kind of lump it together with Toonami. And my friend Chris, he's of the opinion that Trigun is way fucking better than Bebop. I'm not inclined to disagree, per se. Now, there's a lot of things that Bebop does a lot classier than Trigun. Such as in backgrounds, such as in art design, such as in musical score. But Trigun is so much more interesting, I frankly couldn't care. Okay, what's next? Let's see. Yeah, I'm putting that off. Next up, Wolf's Rain. Wolf's Rain. Because for some reason, it's so much artsier to make the sign unreadable unless it's on its side. And I mean, that's so perfect for this anime, because this thing is so full of its own. Its head is so far up its own ass. I can't believe I like it. Like, it's really hard for me to comprehend the fact that I actually like this thing. Wolf's Rain is, wow. You know, it's kind of like one of those experimental art style French films, kind of like the kind of trope that The Fifth Element is famous for, where there's a bunch of weird, pointless imagery that's just supposed to be about the way it looks and making a distinguished look more than actually having some meaning behind it. Wolf's Rain is full of crap like that. And yet, I mean, that kind of thing pisses me way off. The thing is, Wolf's Rain doesn't rely on that. The core of Wolf's Rain has nothing to do with that artsy, pretentious stuff, and in fact, goes out of its way to establish that as something that's associated with the bad guys. And is not shown very often because they keep the bad guys' motivations and the symbolism behind what the bad guys are doing kind of a secret, so we don't focus on that crap. Instead, we focus on a very solid, very likable cast of characters who sort of become brothers. And because of that, I can easily say I consider Wolf's Rain leagues above Bebop. And when I first watched Wolf's Rain on Adult Swim, I was amazed by the fact that it only ran 1 or 2 times. Like, they were ashamed of it. I mean, it's one thing to do that to Kikaider. They only ran Season 2 of Kikaider once. And that was completely justified. Because the second season of Kikaider sucked. And a large part of that is due to the fact that Kikaider sucked. And, you know, that's one thing. That told me that Adult Swim was not above just, like, burying one of its own licensed shows because it was ashamed of it. And that's kind of what they did to Wolf's Rain, and I was insulted. Because I liked Wolf's Rain a lot more than I liked Bebop, which they have shown for 10 straight years! I mean, there's loving a show, but guys, come on! I'm sick of this crap! I didn't like it the first time I saw it. What makes you think I want to see it 10 times over every fucking year? And lastly, we come to the piece de resistance. Cowboy fucking Bebop.